Hey everyone, Phoenix here. Today I am talking about why I love MMOs. I've come up with my five top reasons why I love MMORPGs. I'm still playing Asheron's Call. The game came out in 1999. World of Warcraft has been out since 2004. 20 years later, it's almost at its peak popularity. If you read some reports, there's huge hype over future games like Pantheon, which recently released into early access, and Ashes of Creation. And I think MMORPGs have had lots of ups and downs over the years, but they are still great games, and I love them. The first thing that I want to talk about before I even get into my list is a definition of what an MMORPG is. If you watched the recent Josh Strife Hayes video where he scientifically went through so many videos to rank the best MMORPGs of all time, there were so many entries, and it was honestly hilarious, of games that were not MMORPGs. For instance, Dota 2 showing up at number 155. Dota 2 is not an MMORPG. It is a multiplayer online battle arena. Games like Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2, while they have elements of community and online interaction, they are not what I would call an MMORPG. Those are action RPGs. So there's lots of different definitions for games, but I think it's important that we're all on the same page. So I just looked at Wikipedia, and I really liked the common elements that they listed there that kind of define an MMORPG. So that's persistent game environment, some form of level progression, social interaction, in-game culture, membership in a group, and character customization. And I'm just going to add to that I think like the RPG part of MMORPG needs to be doing a lot of work. I think it's really important to have that like role-playing game elements, classic Dungeons and Dragons elements, and things like that to really make it an MMORPG. These are games that I consider to be MMORPGs. These are some of the most famous and most popular MMORPGs of all time. Please don't feel slighted if your game has not been included on this list. This was a very quick graphic pull together. So my number 5 reason why I love MMORPGs and think that they are great games is just the scale that you can get in an MMORPG that you can't really get in a single player game. So for instance, just the map size, Asheron's Call has over 500 square miles of map. And compared to that, Lord of the Rings Online reportedly has about 30,000 square miles of map. So these are just huge game worlds that a lot of single player games just cannot match. And then the scale of the story. Because these games go on for so many years, you can have these huge, long-lasting story arcs for these characters and really get invested in both the heroes and the villains in these games. And I already mentioned this in my introduction, but the duration of these games lends to the scale. WoW, 20 years old. Asheron's Call, while officially not alive, is still alive in emulation. Came out in 1999, so we're talking about 25 years of life. My number 4 reason why I love MMOs is live events. So here I have a picture of the Shard of the Herald event, which is maybe one of the first or definitely one of the early live events in MMORPG history, and it kind of defined Asheron's Call and why a lot of people still love this game today. There's tons of YouTube videos. You should go check them out, and I may react to one in the future because I really think this is such an important thing in the history of the game and MMOs in general, that this live event was so successful. It gives you a really huge feeling of being part of the world. Then in games like World of Warcraft, with the way that they release raids and mythic raids, you can get these world first accomplishments that just give players this huge feeling of being part of something that, again, it's a world first, so it can only happen once. And you get these people competing to hit that first. And I think that is such a cool thing to have happen. And because this is all player driven, again, you get that feeling of just being involved and being part of the world and affecting the world that you're playing in, which I don't think you get as much in single player games. Number three is a connection to your character. There's no other genre where you spend so much time and effort on one of your characters. And this is maybe a little bit embarrassing, but this is the amount of playtime that I have played my main character in Asheron's Call Phoenix for 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, 11 hours, 48 minutes, and 53 seconds. And I just logged in right before I'm recording this video to check. So that is pretty much accurate. And that is, I've played this character for 4 years now, over 4 years, which is honestly crazy to me, but a lot of people have played their characters a lot longer than that. And I think if Asheron's Call was still a live service game and not an emulation, a lot of people would have way more time than me on their characters. So you get that sense of like, this character is a extension of who you are into the game world. You really feel like, oh, this is me. This is Phoenix in game form. The other thing that really lends to this connection is a growth over time. You're starting out at level 1 and you're going up to, like in Lord of the Rings Online, level 150, in Asheron's Call 275. You really, over that time period, get to be a part of this character. And then to further that connection to your characters, a lot of people enjoy making alternate characters and leveling them up and doing this whole thing again. So now you're connected through all of these different characters to this game world that you love. So evolving story and world, this is obviously my second most important thing, but I think it's extremely important to why people love MMOs. So for example, I have the Lord of the Rings Online map on the left when the game launched and in 2022, and you can see how much has changed, how much has been added. The world has just gotten incredibly huge, and I think that that's just a really good example of how these games evolve over time. So I want to just show here the number of patches that Asheron's Call had in its 18-year run from 1999 to 2017. You've got so many patches, and honestly, Asheron's Call got a lot of flack for not making a patch every month like they promised. But it still is so much, and you can just imagine over time how the story changed and grew, how the world grew, all the events that happened, all the exciting things that people, do and did. And then also Lord of the Rings Online is now they do their patch by number and not date, but you're talking about update, 1 and then going all the way. There's so many patches over time and all the quests and events and exciting things that got added. And we're up to update 42 because this game has been out since 2007. It's 2025. That's, 17, 18 years of life for a game. You get so much evolving story and world. And then because the story has evolved so much over time, they've become so popular that games like World of Warcraft and Lord of the Rings Online, and I'm sure many other games, they are sending you back to play these games again from the beginning because of that evolution is so fun to play through. So you get things like WoW Classic and Lord of the Rings Online Legacy servers where you start from scratch and you do that whole thing again with, obviously some of the quality of life stuff and different classes and other things that they've added over the years, but now you just get to do it again. So I think that just is a testament to how popular these evolving stories really are. And my number one, which I think a lot of you could have guessed, was the community. The community around MMORPGs is just incredible. I don't think there's another game or any type of game like it where you can interact with so many people at once, be involved in the same thing with so many people at once in the same game world. I understand a lot of single player games and ARPGs and all these other games, they have really good communities as well, and communities that come together and are playing the same game. But it's a little bit different to be in the same game world at the same place at the same time, doing this event together or whatever it is that you're doing. These are pictures from leagues that we've had in our Asheron's Call community. And I just think a really good testament to what makes MMORPGs so popular. It gets people sticking around playing a game that came out in 1999 in 2025. It's got, people still playing Lord of the Rings Online, game that is also very popular. World of Warcraft is 20 years old. The community is still there playing, more popular than ever. And I just hope that MMORPGs are still around 20 years from now and I can make this video again. That would be incredible. That's going to be it for this one. If you want to get these videos early, you can become a channel member in the video description. It really does help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.